Hi, welcome to our Absolutely Perfect Facebook page. Today we would like to demonstrate for our clients and anybody who's out there joining us how to brush out a double-coated dog. A lot of times when we have customers come in, they are reassured that they are properly brushing out their pet, only to realize that they're leaving the undercoat or the matting underneath. So today we'd like to demonstrate some techniques on how to properly brush a dog. This is a double-coated dog, Pomeranian, named Bella. She's one of our clients. Now she has been washed or dried already, so that's why she's fluffy. I know that that may not be the case at home, but we're still going to show you some techniques that us as groomers use and that you can use at home in between your regular grooming to avoid the shave downs you may or may not want. So whenever you're brushing a dog, a lot of times you want to start by brushing thoroughly through the top part of the dog. And this is usually what pet parents do. They brush the top part of the dog, which is where a good starting point. Then you have to brush through the entire dog. So you want to make sure you get from the head to the tail to the feet, the legs, underneath, under the armpits, feet, if you have a dog that's got furry feet. So you want to start up on top, and you're going to work your way down. And you just want to simply go through it. You don't want to concentrate too much on one area. And the reason being is if you work on an area too long, you can actually cause irritation to your pet's skin. So you want to avoid that. So you're just going to start by taking it through the whole dog. So make sure you lift that tail up. And we're just kind of brushing through the top coat of the dog. You can see I'm just trying to get some of that initial hair out. This is shedding season, so a lot of times you'll get that shedding, those dead hairs out. They'll be easier to get out when they're shedding versus when they're not quite ready to come out. Want to make sure you get the front. And I'm being real gentle. You don't have to brush real hard. You just want to do a nice gentle, you don't want to be scraping the skin. So you just want to go ahead and do a nice gentle but firm brush out on your pet and go all over. You want to lift up that leg. You want to get inside that armpit. Lift up the other side. And get inside that armpit. The armpit, the back of the ears, and underneath are a lot where those little love mats and those little matting hide. And the reason that is because a lot of times when you pet your dog, you kind of scratch them like that. That can cause knotting behind the ears. In here, when they're walking, if they're getting damp, snow, rain, any kind of ailments, that can create some knotting underneath. And so that's another place you really want to make sure that when you're brushing out, that that's where you're concentrating on. A lot of people do the top part, but you also want to make sure you get the creases, crevices, anything that might be hiding, okay? And this still goes with the combing. And even if you're washing your pet, you want to make sure you're washing all parts of the body, not just the top and the outer layer. You want to make sure you're getting the inside, underneath, the feet real good, and all that. So then, after you run your comb through, your brush through, and you want to use a slicker brush. It's really important the type of brush you use. There's a lot of brushes out there on the market, and you want to use one that's pet specific for your pet. The reason being is a slicker brush, and there's different types of slicker brushes. Slicker brushes will have the little angles and where you can grab onto that hair, and you get it in a bigger size, a smaller size. They have different handles. You can find it at a pet store, your local groomer, even Walmart, anywhere like that. But you do want to get the proper brush. And a lot of this is because you want to make sure you're not irritating the skin, and you want to make sure that it's going to do the job you want it to do. So if you're getting a pin brush, a regular pin brush that maybe people would use a long time ago, that is not going to get the undercoat out. this is what you want to get that undercoat and the mats and all that out. A pin brush is not going to do that. So you do want to use a slicker brush, and then you want to follow up with a comb. This comb's a little bit bigger because I groom with it. They do have smaller ones, but ideally you want a comb that has a side that has them closer together, your pins closer together, and also pins that are further apart. Because if you have a mat, you may need to use this side, and then you want to use the fine-tooth side after that. You want to make sure you can see the length of the teeth that this comb has. A lot of people get combs and they're only about this long. Well, that's not going to get down to the skin, and it actually is going to make it harder on you and your hand and your pet if you're not using the proper comb. So you want to get a comb that has a nice depth of teeth here, you know, with the thinner side and the more spread out teeth. So with that said, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to do exactly what you did with your brush. You're going to do with your comb. You're going to start at the top and you're going to run your comb through. Now, if you feel any kind of resistance, if your comb stops at any point of the dog, the last thing you want to do is to keep pulling the dog, the comb. That's very painful to your pet. It can cause irritation. So you don't want to do that. You want to stop, and you would re-brush out your pet. You want to re-brush out the top. And I'm also going to show you what to do if you got something that's real stubborn, okay? And a lot of times with your slicker brush, if you do have a mat or a lot of undercoat, it's going to sound like Velcro. You're going to hear like a shh, shh, shh. And you don't want to hear that. You want to hear it to go through effortlessly with no noise. And you can see this is effortlessly, okay? Very effortlessly. So now if you get to a point like the rear, a lot of hair is in here. It's very bulky, and there is undercoat back in here. Let's show you. So you see how it got stuck? You can see how she moved. You don't want to keep taking your comb and pulling it through. So you're going to stop and you're going to pick up your brush. And one of the things you need to realize is when you have this undercoat, you want to do what's called line brushing. Line brushing is where you're going to lift the hair. You want to get to the skin, but you also want to be gentle because you don't got to be careful about your bristles scratching the skin of the pet. You don't want to cause any irritation that way. So you still want it to be light, but you still want to make sure you're using a little more just to get the hairs and that undercoat out. So you're going to lift, and you're just going to lightly. We're going to lift, and Bella will stand up here. Let's try it a different way. Lift, and you can see how I'm gently brushing it, and it's not going to irritate her. You may need to do that a few times. Lift, and brush. And if you're getting resistance during the brush, you want to stop and relift and maybe take smaller parts. Just demonstrating how to do that. So now when I take my comb after that, you can see that it's going through effortlessly now. Same comb, same side, but see how that goes through now? Bella's not turning her head, and it's nice and it's soft. It almost looks fluffy like. Okay. One way you can tell if a dog's hair is brushed out completely is you'll see that it looks kind of stuck together. You don't want that. You want it to be nice and fluffy and the hair separated. So we're going to do that again on this side because you can see she's got a little move her tail. Lift. And brush. And this can go for poodles and Vashons, Shih Tzus, any kind of pet you have. This can go, you know, the same type of technique. We're going to end up demonstrating later on a poodle and other type of breeds, that more common breeds that we see things on, doodles, You know, you want to make sure you get that tail real good. Make sure you can get all the way to that tip of the tail. Don't want to leave out those tails. A lot of dogs get that knotting here in the tails. You want to make sure you can go from the base of the skin all the way, being nice and gentle. If you have an area up on the top, on the side, it's the same concept. You're going to lift the hair and you're going to brush down. And you can do this through your whole pet if you want. And this will really help with a tangle-free pet. And it's good for your pet too. It's gonna keep that dead hair out. It's gonna keep them mat free. Lift. You always want to go gentle. Just remember, you don't want to ever try to brush so hard that it's going to irritate the skin. Underneath, you want to get in here in the armpit. And here, you got to be careful because the skin in here is very thin. So you just want to get right up in there as far as you can without scratching the skin. And you're just going to get in here and gently brush. You want to try to go the same way the hairbrush is. It's a lot easier on the pet. And then you're going to comb down afterwards. So that's a little tip you can take when you're brushing your dog at home in between groomings, or if you just want to work with your dog. If you have a puppy, brushing your pet at home is a really good way to get your puppy trained for the groomers. Playing with their paws and brushing with them will be a nice treat for your groomer, because one of the things that they do have the hardest time on is getting a puppy to accept the brush and the comb and play with their feet when they have to do nails or pads or anything like that. So if you're at home and you want to brush your puppy out, your dog, or if you want to just make sure your dog is well maintained in between because you want to grow that hair longer, here's a little tip for you. If you have any questions, you can feel free to call us at Absolutely Perfect, 708-599-5709. We will be more than happy to answer questions that we can for you. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.